By the way, what is the guy's name?
Yeah, I'm almost live here.
Who's the leader?
Cinny.
How do you say his first name? Manuel?
Manuel. Cinny. BMC.
Hey, what's up? We live?
Keep talking.
We are?
Yeah.
So listen, here is my notes from today, just so you know. Full disclosure. So when all of this conversation entails watching the race on TV, and you can't watch the race, it leads to this. So we actually have somebody here better that can tell us about exactly what happened in the race. Can you see George on the thing?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's actually, before we should probably start the podcast, I guess.
Yeah, we'll get it started.
Okay, let's get started.
We'll be official.
Yeah, all right. Stage 3. All right, welcome back to the Stages podcast. I'm Lance Armstrong with my host, J.B. Hager. A couple guests today, certain George Hincapie, who you might remember from. We let him come on the tour podcast a couple times.
You're going to say you might remember from the Stages podcast,
Yeah.
not all the other years
17
on the bike.
tours, greatest teammate of all time, all-arounder, fucking great guy. You know, all those things. But, you know, a couple guest appearances on stages this summer.
That's what put him over the top.
And George is actually a perfect guest to have today because, JB, we couldn't watch the race. I mean, this is just a recurring theme. It's not a criticism we can do.
And it's not just us not being able to see the race. This is everybody, including the commentators. You know,
Right.
they watch the same feed, and then that's where they derive everything from. We're all kind of twiddling our thumbs a little bit. And this is where George, like you said, really comes in handy today because...
It turns out I became the media source for the 3 biggest global media outlets out there: NBC, Eurosport, and Stages.
Right.
everybody
All
was
in that order. I was
literally-
copying and pasting text
His phone-
messages to all of you guys,
There's
by the way.
smoke coming off George's phone. He can't.
So you were literally texting out what was going down.
That is correct.
You were breaking it down.
And I was talking on the radio to TJ the whole time. So
Oh
I was
my
doing a lot of
gosh.
multitasking today.
Good job, buddy. So, George, what, and before I go any further, just right quick. So, after George, and I won, this day got a little long, and people came by. The energy down here in this part of Denver is incredible. But after George gets done telling us whatever he wants to tell us, I thought it would be interesting, too. An old friend of both George and I, who's the actual race doctor. So, he's the doctor, not a team doctor. He's the doctor for the race. We don't know. We literally don't know anything about what happened today, other than trying to follow some tweets, texting with you, listening to the NBC podcast, who obviously didn't know anything either because they were also texting you. What happened?
Well, it was a super, super aggressive stage. I mean, our goal for the day was not to let House get any time bonus seconds on us. We completed that task in the first 10K. Cannondale was controlling the race from kilometer 1. I told the guys early on that we were just sitting back and we were going to wait for the sprint. We obviously have 3 great sprinters on our team. And we succeeded in the first 10K, and then on the climb it was just chaos. There was 5 different groups.
But did Alex Howes really think he was going to get a time bonus at the first sprint?
He's actually pretty fast.
But with all the sprinters still left?
I mean, he still tried, and they definitely tried to control that. And fortunately for us, Travers went for it. Another guy went for it, and John Murphy took 3rd. So that went as good as it could have gone.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this, George, how comparing it to the Tour de France, because that's where most people derive their knowledge from. Half the field size, much smaller teams. That's why you see chaos, right? If you could give us shed some light on that, is that a part of the reason that you can't just, okay, even though it's a second, that's like obviously the most narrow margin possible, you can't just take control of the race?
Yeah, no, there's just, I mean, this, like you said, smaller team, 6 guys. Even the Pro Tour teams with the huge budgets, they have 6 guys, but they only have, you saw Cannondale today, they had 2 guys pulling there at the end. Trek had 2 guys pulling, and they didn't have it. I mean, with an 8-man team or 9-man team, that gap gets closed any day at the Tour de France.
So so what happened for the listener at home who probably watched as well or tried to watch? These guys actually started as 5 guys. They get away, and then that sort of whittled down to the 2. Vetkov, how do you say his name? Vetkov and Sini.
Yeah, it was actually 8 guys, and
then it went to 5.
And it went to 5. The 5 got caught.
Yep.
And then they went downhill for 5K, and then they hit the second KOM.
And then they went.
And that's where the 2 guys went.
Yep.
And actually, TJ was really good there, but it really wasn't his responsibility to go. It was more the Cannondale guys. So he thought that they would come back and get him, and unfortunately, it didn't work out that way.
Yep.
Now, I doubt that you have time to listen to our podcast when you're so busy with the team and, just being a bell.
I listened last night.
Did you listen last night?
Because I told him, I was like, we just gave him a total.
Did you hear the TJ Love Fest?
Puff piece.
I did.
We are really.
I appreciate that.
We're interested in this kid.
We might get a new sponsor out of that podcast.
Tell us more. Tell us more about TJ, how he ended up in your program. What else do you know about him? That was a great story yesterday. Great ride, and we're all very intrigued.
Believe it or not, TJ was actually pissed off today. I mean, even though the team meeting went today, guys, we already won. We won. We're coming out winners. I didn't put any pressure on them because it was up to the other teams to win this race. Although I told them it'd be amazing if we ended up winning the race in the last day here in Denver. Jersey and try to win the stage, or not win the stage, but just keep the jersey. But TJ, I mean, he's a free spirit. He's a good family guy. His brother's here. His brother-in-law. His
brother
sister's
came
here.
by earlier.
Yeah, I mean, they're great people. He was definitely visibly upset though today at the finish.
He should have been.
He's got some passion. I mean, the guy's a winner, and he's a great cyclist. And the way we got him, we were fortunate enough to get him last year because BMC let him go. I saw how strong he was in Utah. He got sick at the end of the season. He was stuck in Belgium racing, these super hardcore cold races. When you're sick, you're away from home, you're not getting better. So we got lucky. I knew that he had an engine. I got a great relationship with BMC. I called about him. They all said he's a great guy. There was no reason to get him, so we got lucky that he came on our program, and he's done amazing things for us this year.
All I know is that somebody at the press conference yesterday asked him, it was you were away all day. They were coming back to you. It looked like you weren't going to stay away. What were you thinking? And he says, man, I just decided at that point I was going to go balls deep. And, I mean, it just that's amazing. I mean, it.
Apparently that term
I don't
means
know
something completely different now.
I don't know what I'm supposed to say, but when I heard that, I was like...
That might have not gonna go over so well at a Tour de France press conference, but here it's awesome.
Yeah. But I was like, I triple checked. I was like, did he really say that he was going to go balls deep? Oh, look at the doc. He wants to get in the shot. Jesus. Doc, sit your ass down. You're not up yet.
Think more, George. We want to know more about TJ. I was talking to his older brother. His brother is like 16 years older than him.
Yep.
Came by and they said I taught him how to ride. And I said to him, when we first saw TJ take off early yesterday, we couldn't help but notice his super upright neck.
Yeah.
Right? His head's way up. It's a complete opposite of Froome, right? And his brother goes, that's because when he started riding, he was so small. He had to literally lift his head up to see over the peloton. He was a small kid.
So he just got used to it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what he did as a kid, but I mean, you watch him on the bike. The guy's got incredible style on the bike. He looks super good on the bike. I mean, he's a natural.
Yeah. So George, but when I'm still trying to figure out, so this group gets the 2 guys go away, and when I say go away, I mean the race is going away. The race is you're losing the race.
Yeah.
And so behind you have first question, was anybody from your team close to being there? Because if he has one more guy.
No, that was one of the disappointments of today. We did not have anybody close. The guys were about 2 minutes behind, but they were just going too fast in the front. They were not coming back.
Okay. All right. So then you're there, and Trek is pulling, Cannondale is pulling, and they are not bringing back the 2 leaders.
So those guys attacked on the second KOM, which is kind of steep, but it was only like 2K long. And what happened was they attacked. They got 10 seconds on the climb, which is not much. As soon as we got to the top of the climb, it started raining.
Yep.
So within 5K, we were 50 seconds behind. because they went a lot faster than our group in the
Well,
rain.
that means they can go downhill fast in the rain,
Yep.
which is a special skill. I mean, that's
Absolutely.
not. There are guys. There are fast downhillers, and then there are fast descenders, and then there's fast descenders in the rain.
Yep.
Like guys that I don't know. Either they just don't care, or they just have it figured out. But I was not ever one of those
Yeah, I
guys.
remember you used to always yell at me in
I
the
was-
rainy
yeah.
descents.
I'd be
Slow
yelling.
the fuck down, George. Like,
Shit,
chill,
damn
man.
straight. I do not want to be laying on the ground. Slow down. And I don't have the skill to do this. I fully confess. If it's dry, let's go. But if it's wet, I am dead ass last. But so they get 50, and then these teams, Cannondale Trek, and then I think the Italian team start pulling. Any thought to having TJ pull?
So that's a great question. And there was a
You
little
had
bit
to-
of
you had to-
discussion.
I nearly
In the
texted
car.
him. He's like,
Yeah.
he actually has to start riding.
So we couldn't make him pull before the time bonus because we were still hoping he can get that second.
Got you.
I was kind of on the side of making him pull.
Yeah.
But looking back, they wouldn't have made that much. If he started pulling, maybe they would have gotten another 5 seconds. I mean, they were just, the whole group was done. So I think it was the right call that we did not make him pull. And it was that group down. They're the Pro Tour teams, and we put all the responsibility on them. Howes won the sprint. He was virtually in the leader's jersey. So we had to risk it. We had to risk it that they were going to pull it down, chase the time gap down, and TJ can maybe do something in the sprint at that point.
Hey, I'm wanting to know, George, what you say to these guys coming in today's Stages podcast. Program-wise, you're a small team up against some big boys, and I don't want to single anybody out. But generally speaking, like, did you have just some sort of great pep talk? What were the expectations going in? As you said, you've already won.
Yeah.
You've made a big splash. What does this mean for a program like yours?
I hope it means a lot. I'm hoping to find out a lot more in the next few weeks. I mean, obviously, all of our sponsors are here. Mark is actually sitting right
Mark
outside.
Olivesco, right outside the door.
He was in the car all day yesterday. It was probably one of the best days of the team's history in terms of excitement and just stress for that matter. But our sponsors are happy. So who knows? Maybe we'll pull up a few sponsors. And my goal is to get the team to the next level. And we've been doing a great job so far. And the guys can't ride any better than they have this year.
But hang on a second. If and this is where you and I differ, and I've told you this, and I've told everybody else this. If the tone and the conversation and the message this morning was we've already won, I call bullshit on that.
I knew you would. I absolutely
This
knew
is
you
not-
would.
no,
I
this
knew
is
you
No
would.
time to
What are
celebrate?
you I'm with TJ on this. I'm with this kid.
TJ was the same. He actually agreed with me.
What are you talking
We
about?
did not-
We are here to win the fucking bike race.
Absolutely.
The
Absolutely.
whole bike race.
It's called reverse psychology. I'm not going to stress these guys out in the morning.
No.
Maybe you would have done that and everybody would have listened, but my strategy was a little different. And you know what? It went well in the first part of the day, and it wouldn't have been any different if I said, guys, we're winning this fucking race.
Hey, you got him to cuss. Hey, you said a goal would be to get it to the next level. What does that mean? Get invites to bigger races, more budget, both? What does that mean?
both.
What is the next level?
We need more budget.
It's
I mean,
all of the above.
all of
Yeah.
the above.
Yeah.
We have all the contacts. We have all the infrastructure. We just need more budget, and we'll get there.
Okay.
But again,
Can you give me an example of
Right,
what
we-
a next level race would be?
We talked about
Sure.
it, or budget-wise. We talked yesterday. We compared Georgia's team is $1 million budget, and there are teams in this race that have a $20 million budget,
but
if not more.
what would be
So
a
minimum-
target race?
When we're looking at that now, minimum for Pro Conti, which is the next level, is 2.5, and that's the bare minimum. And then once you go Pro Tour, you need 12 to 15 million minimum.
A big jump.
It's a big jump.
All right.
All right.
Maybe there's probably a lot of people listening with checkbooks. They're
Reach
ready
out to
whip
me.
It out.
George's,
I'm easy to find.
George's GoFundMe. What else we got? Should we bring the doc on, or what else you want to say, George?
Bring the Doc on. I mean, I could tell a funny story about Doc, how I met Doc during Tour California.
George just wants to be done because his rosé is empty.
Yeah, my rosé's empty.
One last question,
and,
George.
and his sponsor is sitting outside the Airstream.
Yeah, he's probably mad at
baking
me
in
right
the
now.
sun. He's like,
One last question. What's the goal for tomorrow for your team?
great question.
Well, we're still in it. We can certainly win the stage tomorrow. We got John Murphy. We have Miguel, who's riding great. Joe Lewis. We got a great lead-out train. We showed in the first stage that we're one of the fastest teams here. So we're not done racing. We hope we can win tomorrow's stage.
But nothing changes, right? I mean,
No, I don't see anything changing.
The
overall.
profile makes it look like it's a little lumpy, but I don't.
I would be surprised if anything changed in the overall.
Well, seeing you, a part of me wants to congratulate you, but with Lance sitting here, I don't.
I know you can't do it. Just congratulate me later when you leave the room.
Yeah, you guys. I tell you what, you guys can go have a moment outside together, and sip some chamomile tea and congratulate each other. How about that? I'm gonna sit here and have
another glass of rosé.
I'm gonna have a Lancerita and say this is bullshit. I'm with TJ on this. I'm with the team leader. All right.
We'll do a switch
Thanks,
here.
guys. We'll switch now.
George, good to see you. Thanks for updating all media outlets.
George and I are going. We got a big group going out to dinner tonight. It's gonna be fun. We got a bike ride in the morning. Thanks, buddy.
See you, man.
Doc's coming in. So before we turn to the doc, look, he doesn't even know where he's sitting. This is unbelievable. Oh,
Right,
yeah.
sit right where George.
Did you get more rosé, George?
No, I'm good. I gotta go anyway.
Oh, what do you mean? Okay.
Childproof.
While we're switching over, thanks again to the Infinite Monkey Theorem for letting. Oh, it's locked.
It's tricky.
Look at
Oh my gosh.
this Airstream stuff is tough.
I can't do it.
Dave?
From this angle.
Bolchka.
Oh my gosh.
But anyways, thanks to the Infinite Monkey Theorem for letting us crash here and post up. Awfully cool to see a lot of people out this afternoon. Again, the stage tomorrow starts and finishes here, so we're excited to come back again for the final day. Starts a little earlier tomorrow, just so you know. Come out earlier because as soon as that stage is done and JB and I get done. Real quick, I don't know if you guys can see my shirt.
Quick if you guys want, we'll get TJ on here for a few minutes tomorrow.
Yes.
That would be cool.
We'd love that.
Let's get Spicoli on.
I can't wait to hear what he has to say.
George just confirmed that TJ Spicoli Eisenhart is coming on tomorrow. But what I was saying was, so this T-shirt that I'm wearing, I don't know if you can see it, but it's for a young fellow named Chad Young who was on Axel Merckx's development team, very similar team to George. Same age range, same budget, same everything. Although their goals are aligned. So Chad, and if you listen to my weekly show, you would have heard me talk about Chad Young. He was doing a race in New Mexico called the Tour of the Gila in April, and had a terrible crash. One that didn't appear to be that bad, but net ended up being really, really bad. And unfortunately, he passed away. But this is a kid. And again, I talked about this in my intro for one of the weekly shows, that when I rode with him, he was attending the Colorado School of Mines, which for those of you people who understand engineering and understand that type of schooling, that is the Harvard for engineers. And so he says, I go to the Colorado School of Mines. I'm taking a few months off to race bikes, and I had it was an 8-man ride. We're riding 2 abreast. So I was having this conversation, and I thought, What is this kid doing here? This kid is way too smart to be next to me, way too smart to be riding a bike, racing a bike. He was so impressive, and just months later, we lost him. And so we had the great pleasure of having his mom and his dad and his brother, who, by the way, looks exactly like him, in the studio just before we started. It's the reason we started late. But they started a foundation in his name, and Kevin, the father, just told us that Colorado School of Mines is actually going to give him his degree, or give them his degree in December, which is an amazing gesture on their part. So if you guys get a second, first of all, keep Chad in your thoughts and his family in your thoughts, but check out his foundation. It's just an awful story. This is a brutal sport. And we can watch the images and we can watch these amazing feats, but keep in mind there are times where you hit the ground and it's not good. And so
which leads us to our next guest here, and we can
talk
about
as an aside before we get to the light things that might happen. I think one of the things, Lance, you polarizing figure or not, one of the great things that you do.
There's no not to that, but keep going.
Is the impact of you bringing up things like that are brought into everyone's living room.
Yeah.
And
well, these are Doc. These are real stories.
These are
real stories, and
these
are
real life. This is again what no one's going to criticize your benefits for cancer, your ability to touch a lot of lives, but there's responsibility that comes with that.
Right.
And we'll flip this and get a little bit lighter. But I think just the way you interacted with that family that I saw just before this is a testament to who you are in a bigger picture than bike racing. It's just being a human being. So
those are and those are meeting Chad. But that's an authentic story. That's yesterday we talked about Amy Dombrowski's foundation. Nobody sent us an email and said, "Hey, her brother came by with his wife and their kids and talked to us." And so that's for JB and I. That's a viral, easy, logical thing to talk about. So it's we appreciate it, and again, both of those stories actually remind you how brutal this sport can be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So now we have the official. You do all these races. Tour California. You do this race. Did you do Utah? Tour Utah?
No, did not do Utah.
Oh,
Traditionally in the
slacker.
calendar, I know. Traditionally in the calendar, too close to this race and too much time away from regular life and regular doctoring. And just to be official, I am not the official race doctor of this race. I am for California and have been for the
You are in my mind.
duration. And those that organize the race have spent time in California to figure out, because as you can imagine, this is not a common sports medicine typical kind of doctor job. So people that have done it before are hugely valuable. They were valuable for me to get into the sport. And when Jeff Huber and his team came aboard with this race being announced, he spent a week with me in California and realizing that this circus is not just putting Band-Aids on at 25 miles an hour. There's a lot of logistics that goes into it.
So we're going to get to that. But before we get to that, I have to tell the listeners and the viewers on Facebook Live and YouTube, etc., how we met. Because this
Classic.
is
Classic.
This is classic.
This is
so,
life.
And I retire in 2005. Should have stayed retired. Never mind. Come back in 2009. In the middle of that, you become a Christian. In the back, everybody gone. I walk back of the bus, and I'm walking towards the front. I see this guy, which is you, like rifling through the shelves in the kitchen and all this stuff. And I said, "Who the fuck are you?"
That is your exact quote. This is not an embellishment. That was the exact
And
words.
I said, and you're like, "What?" But you were like, "I'm pretty sure." I said, "Get the fuck out of the bus."
That's not an exact quote, but that was. You didn't need to say anything at that point.
And then later in the stage, George was like, "Hey man, I heard you, you were getting on my buddy." I was like, "Who? Oh, you mean the guy in the bus? Like who's?" He's like, "Oh, he's the race doctor." I was like, "Oh, well, I didn't know him." And he's like rifling through the stuff anyways. Then we became fast friends. Fast forward to Tour California 2010. And I crashed, hit my head, blood. I still have this gnarly cut, but
It's
blood.
beautiful, by the way.
It is a beautiful scar. But so I'm going to need sutures. Our team doctor calls you and says, "Hey, Lance needs stitches," and so you meet our team bus at the time somewhere on some roadside in California, and you're going to give me the stitches under my eye. And I'm laying down on the back of the bus, and you're just about to go in with this needle that's like, half an inch from my eye, and I said, "Hey, Doc," I said, "Remember that time I said, 'Who the fuck are you?' and kicked you off our bus?" And you go, "Yeah."
How do you forget that?
I go, "I'm really sorry."
This guy's got
I think
a
it was
needle.
no hard feelings, right?
You've got a needle right next to your
the
eye.
needle is just about to go in my eye.
I said, by the way, it's saline. It's not really numbing medicine because this is who the fuck are you?
You're going to feel this.
You might feel it.
I got to know, how and why would you be an official team doctor at any event in bike racing? Is it something you're super passionate about, or how did you stumble into it, or is it something you sought out?
So
What
team
led you
doctors,
there?
team doctors are a little bit different. They sort of manage a team, and they're sort of, like your primary care doc for your family. A race doc is a little bit different. So you're not really affiliated with any team. You cover the event. So you ride behind the chief comm car, typically, and you organize a team. And this team is huge. It's not one person. It's literally more logistics than it is medicine. You're moving bodies around, and you're having ambulances and helicopters on standby, and all these potential things that happen in a race this high profile with this many people, and you've seen and heard of the level of accidents and things that can happen. So we always say our best day is a day I never get out of the car. And that's a day like today, never get out of the car. You ride behind the race,
quote.
things happen, and you're very, very happy to end the day with not putting on much more than I got on my knees and put on a Band-Aid at 25 miles an hour. And
But how did you end up there?
So that's a good question.
What's your connection?
So the beginning of Tour California is owned by AEG.
Right.
AEG also owns our soccer stadium and our Staples Center and a lot of the sports facilities in Los Angeles. And I live in Los Angeles. And my senior partners were very involved with the soccer teams, men's and women's national team, the local professional teams. And so they had a relationship with AEG, and AEG approached the group and said, hey, we're going to do this bike race. Anybody you know that wants to be involved in the professional bike race, we need medical providers. And our lead guy says, I don't want to do it, but I know somebody who would, because I was into cycling and I rode a bit and felt like this would be a great fit for me, running a sports medicine group. It's a great opportunity, but at the same time, I didn't know shit about running a bike race because it's so different. It's not a medical sports medicine facility where you're sitting on a sideline. You got 20 seconds in our situation right now to make a decision. We can't pull somebody off the field, take them to the locker room, examine them, and bring them back and let them play. This is a very fast-moving decision-making process that is not for everybody.
Yep.
I never thought about that. And you don't ever leave, go to an ambulance, and go back.
No.
It just doesn't happen in cycling.
Right, and the race doesn't wait, and there's no timeouts, and you have to make a decision.
Or making a split-second decision whether someone gets helicoptered out or driven out.
Correct.
Wow.
And all the things along the way. So I actually reached out to somebody who was working Tour Georgia, because at the time there was really no other big pro bike race in the States at that level that had the same level of riders. And when Lance was doing Tour Georgia, it became a big race. And I reached out to the guys that organized that. And Keith Borg, who is
But Medalist is the production company, so they put up the fences and the banners. Your favorite thing, the barricades, the staging. So they are
the nuts and bolts of the course, everything. Exactly, you're right.
They do it all.
They do the race, and they
road closures,
correct.
and
they
with the police and all that. So that's they're the guys who keep the race safe.
Right. I marvel at my logistics. I'm 1/50th of the logistics that those guys have to put together to put a race like this on. Have you guys have always been, you especially have been in the ropes, kind of just, you ride your bike. There is a circus of activity that takes place around one of these events, and hats off to them, because just organizing my little piece is not ever easy, and no 2 days are the same.
Yep.
For them, same drama.
Yep. And so the thing too is that the race doctor at the Tour is I guess arguably the most famous bike race doctor in the world. And for all those years, we had a guy named Gerard Port. He was the race doctor for even from my first tours all the way to my last. He was the race doctor, and Gerard. So the riders get to know him. He gets to know them, and it's, it really is. There's this bond between patient and doctor, which I'm sure you've done it 10
That
plus.
relationship is super important,
Very
because
important.
now the team doctors actually respect your ability to make a decision on the side of the road when they're not in the car. Like, I get texts every single accident. I'll get a text from team manager, team doctor, somebody that says, "Hey, how's my guy?" or whatnot. And that relationship's been fostered over 12 years.
Yeah.
Do you is that role? Do you make the decision if someone can continue or not?
Correct.
Like boxing.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
And that's the hardest decision.
Was the kid in California who hit his head?
Yeah.
This Cannondale kid. Did you see the video of this, JB? That was in California, right?
Yes.
Doc?
This is a great example.
This guy hits the ground. Yeah. I don't know how hard he hit the ground, but he was. It was like he had just had 20 lanceritas. He was weak. There's no way he should have been on a bike, and it got filmed and captured, and as happens in the world, we all saw it. It was unbelievable. He hit his head that hard.
This is exactly the dilemma, and that's a great example. And there was a press conference a day later about how does this happen, what are the medical resources involved, and so to bring everybody up to speed, it actually was almost like a public service announcement for us for folks to understand what is involved in a bike race and to cover it. And that situation was unique because he was in a breakaway and had just come over the top of a climb with a super, super technical descent, a descent that every year we do it, there's crashes. And
probably shouldn't do it.
There you go. Or they should ride it ahead of time and know what speeds they can do it. But either way, so when that situation happens and there's a gap of a minute or 2 minutes at the top and there's a break of 10 guys, let's say, all the vehicles that would normally be supporting those 10 have to move forward of those riders for the descent, because the peloton's going to catch our vehicles that are in between the brake and the peloton. So they have to move forward and get out of the way. Well, what that creates is there's going to be a gap. So if somebody goes down, we're now a minute and a half back. So by the time I got to him, he's having a conversation like you and I are having right now.
Wow.
I mean, he's road rash from head to toe. Just clearly he was in a bad wreck. I don't have any visual of it. I don't know anything about, I haven't seen the video, right? I'm just a minute 40 back of a guy that crashed, that I heard crashed on the radio. We talked to him. He talks to us. He asks how far back are the guys behind me. Asks all the appropriate questions. And, of course, his team car came up right behind us, had a conversation with him, and it was very clear at that point he didn't need to go on. But ended up all ending well in terms of, yes, closed head injury, which is a super hot topic, and that's really our big determination for completing or not completing. And that's the speech I give to the managers meeting before every race, is that I will 99% of the time err on the side of letting your rider continue. So don't worry that I'm trying to pull people out of the race. But if there's a head injury, or if there's a witness loss of consciousness, or if we have concerns about a head injury, please, please, please don't argue with us and just let us pull somebody out.
We don't, you hear so much about that with football, you hear about it with other contact sports, even soccer in a sense. Nobody talks about multiple concussions in cycling, but come on, and the way these things accumulate and you sort of never get rid of them. And when we were kids, and even when we were young pros, we raced with no helmets. I mean, we hit our, come on.
Well, we can tell from your behavior that you hit your head a few times. We know that.
Thank you.
That's clear.
Because Doc, and I needed you, a medical professional, to come on here and on this show and tell everybody, justify to everybody why I do stupid shit. So that I'm good.
Yep.
Let's see y'all out in Denver tonight.
400 closed head impacts and 4 Lanceritas, and that'll do it.
Ugh. Doctor, note.
Hey, I want to hear the official word, because anybody who rides bikes, it's at some point you're going to have gnarly road rash.
Yes.
What is the absolute best way to treat that?
That is a great question.
I have been there.
Favorite.
Oh, no.
And it's been I wouldn't say proven, because proven requires double-blinded studies that I don't want to get into medical science here, but I'll just tell you, over the years, you do an amazing first scrub, and you get one.
Hang on a second. Hang on. What's a scrub?
In other words, you just clean it. Just
like
you got road rash. Just
how hard are we grinding on?
You got asphalt
like they
in
come
your
by
skin.
they come by the car. We'll squirt some spray on. Just make sure there's no nastiness in the wound at all. Most of them are fairly superficial.
But we're not talking grinding.
No.
Okay.
Not abrasive. Not killing tissue.
Scrub sounded like a grind.
My apologies.
Okay.
So this is a gentle wash if it's clean. It's more aggressive if there's more debris in the wound. But you want a clean wound when you're done with that first wash / scrub.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then you you dry it completely and put Tegaderm or an equivalent bio-occlusive dressing, which keeps it moist. The key is don't let it scab, because then it cracks, then it bleeds. Then put this bio-occlusive dressing on it. It stays moist. It doesn't scab. It scars better, and it's a quote-unquote miracle. You heard it here.
Because we've all been there.
By the way, it's nasty when it's that. That starts collecting.
Well, if
scabs are a lot
you get
cleaner.
fluid, if you get fluid underneath it, you can kind of pick up a corner and let it drain out if you're not too grossed out by that, or you just come. I had a great quote from a guy that was riding away from the finish as I was walking over here to meet you guys, and he's got all of his bandages and Tegaderms and Coban wraps and stuff on, and he was a guy that crashed in an amateur race before. I said, "You certainly received some first-class medical care from the medical tent today." He goes, "Oh my God, if I can hire them all and take care of me for the next week, that would be great."
A week.
Because he wants day after day dressing changes and all that kind of stuff.
A week would be a fast heal.
Yeah.
Like
those
for me,
things,
they because I always let things scab up.
Lance, they'll heal in a week.
It's such a nasty thing to talk about, but
scarless.
It's so common. Road rash is so common amongst the amateur cyclists, and
that's why we're talking about it, Doc.
But the old school guys,
once again, public awareness.
You can talk to 2 different old school riders, and one's going to say keep it covered, and the other one's going to say let it air out, and you don't know what to believe. You heard it here. Cover it.
Yep, cover it. Active people need an active dressing.
Let it get
active
juicy.
healing. Keep it juicy.
So fucking gross. I mean, that's just. You can peel it back and let a little drip out. That's really cool.
Yeah.
See how your wife likes that. Honey, come over here. Just watch this.
Oh, I had a whole.
Can't wait to lay down tonight.
Yeah, my whole leg one
isn't that
time.
the worst?
And
The
my
sheets?
wife was so disgusted. Like, you're sleeping elsewhere until this is over. It's so gross.
Or when you got road rash all over your body and you get up and you take the sheets with you.
Oh,
All right, we got to talk about stuff. Are we done? We're at 35. We're good.
We're good.
Yeah, Doc, thanks for being here.
Hey, it's my pleasure.
And thanks
You
for
guys
doing
keep-
what you do. And I think the coolest thing that to me, the takeaway was we all have the family doc, but then which is the guy you go and he like,
I got the sniffles.
Yeah, I got a little cough or whatever, and then you have the ER doc. So you're the ER doc.
In this situation, the funny thing is, most people think of what we do as just from race start to race finish. We're actually taking care of the entire entourage. So when Tour of California, for example, last year's 11 days, women's race, men's race, 11 days you're taking care of over 1,000 people that forgot their blood pressure medicine at home.
Yep.
That skinned their knee today doing something. The motor marshals, the people that organize the race, the announcers that get hoarse, all these other different primary care things, not high profile, not sexy, not anything that I pat myself on the back and think we're wonderful, but you are just a ship doc, basically.
The announcers now hate you, but
the announcers
let me just say
actually
something. You and me and George, Christian, Roll, Bobby Julich, Mark Holowesco, and there's 8 of us going, and Craig Lewis going to Frosket tonight in Boulder. And so let me just say something. For those 1,000.
Some local care for that.
Call his second in command tonight.
Thanks for the invite, by the way.
I didn't. It's Holowesco that did it.
I think
I'm just
another gem on this planet, by the way.
I'm on the wheel just like you.
Absolute gem on the planet.
All right. Hey,
Cheers, guys.
Hang on one sec, Doc. You can't get out because it'll make a bunch of noise. I just noticed Katie from World Bicycle Relief is outside here. So for everybody that participated during stages in the month of July during the tour and bought We Do gear, stages gear, that we then gave money to World Bicycle Relief, or maybe you just did it on your own. You didn't have to buy the gear. Thank you for that. But it just reminded me to talk about them because I saw her outside the Airstream studio. All right, we'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Last day. I think tomorrow will be the last stages until early July.
And you heard it from Hincappy. He's bringing TJ by tomorrow, who's been a buzz of this event.
Yeah.
So we're going to hold
balls
him to
deep, man. If anybody says balls deep,
no,
you got to bring him on.
I'm on. I'm in. I'm there. I'm whatever you want me to be.
I don't know what to expect tomorrow with this kid, but I'm dying to hear what he says.
Should we do a live? Maybe we do a live show outside at the Infinite Monkey Theorem.
That'd be fun.
It could be. We'll see how things shape up. But
I think it'll be really good to revisit that with TJ. Your conversation about the pressure.
Of course.
He's been a buzz for the last 24 hours. The pressure you felt when you were his age, if not younger, and what that can do. I don't know. You can have kind of a old man conversation.
Oh man, thank you. I appreciate that.
I was going to say a fatherly conversation, but that seems weird.
Yeah.
A mentor conversation.
I got enough kids, buddy. I don't need to have another fun. All right, we'll check y'all tomorrow.